Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1806A, and today's date is March 4th, 2019, and the title of the episode is Something Strange is Happening with the $100 Bill. Gold brings down the Fed. Now, don't you just love it when you find a $20 bill in a jacket pocket you haven't worn in ages, or a purse you've not used for a long time? Well, imagine this, finding hundreds of dollars in the papers that are sitting in your file cabinet. I'm talking about that old 401k paperwork. That money is sitting there doing nothing. Our friends at Noble Gold can cast an eye over that lost paperwork and see if you qualify for a precious metals IRA with it. So they're offering one of these special Morgan Silver dollars for all qualified IRAs above $20,000. So dig out the old paperwork and click the link below to get started on your gold IRA. Let's get into the economic collapse financial news. Now, we always need to keep in mind that there's two economies occurring at the same time. And we've been following the central bank economy for a very long time. Then Trump came on the scene and he started to reverse everything the central bank, the deep state, has been doing. Gotten rid of the globalist trade deals, contradicted the Fed, reworked NAFTA, making bilateral trades around the world. We know from Q there's going to be a restructuring of the Fed, and we know going back in time that Trump, well, he always contradicted the Fed. He always lashed out at the Fed, and he believes in gold. And something very strange is happening with the $100 bill. And if we go back in time, we know that the $100 bill, well, it changed. One side of it is the Federal Reserve. The other side of it is in gold. It has the Constitution, and it's the United States Treasury. And we're going to be talking about that in a little bit and how all of this is going to come full circle. But when we look at the economy today, we can see the economy is completely deteriorating and imploding on itself. Now, we've been tracking this for a very long time. Trump right now just can't take this economy and say, okay, you know what? Let me just throw this switch. Everything's back to normal. Why? Because we're in a central bank economy. He needs to back us out of this completely and reset the entire thing. Just like he does with his businesses. He declares bankruptcy. He resets everything. But when we look at the central bank economy, and I'm not talking about the statistics. Forget the statistics. I'm not talking about GDP, the stock market, unemployment. Those are all manipulated to make you believe the economy is doing really, really well until the central bank brought the economy down, so no one was the wiser. Trump is just using this and using their weapons against them. But when we look at real data, real information, we can see that different sectors within the central bank economy, it is falling apart. At the same time, Trump is bringing back manufacturing and working out many, many deals. He needs to do this. This has to be done. The economy needs to be prepared for what is coming to get us back to where America once was. When we look at the housing market, when we look at construction, we can see that things are slowing very, very quickly. U.S. construction spending, well, that posted the smallest annual increase since 2011. For December, spending declined by 0.6% from the prior month. And when we look at other sectors of the central bank economy, virtually every piece of their economy is slowing down and falling apart. This is why the IMF, the Fed, the Biz, they're so worried. They're in a panic. They are completely exposed right now. Think about what has been happening here. Farm loan delinquencies. They just hit the highest level that we've seen in 9 years. JCPenney, Victoria's Secret, Payless, Gap, all those stores, they're closing hundreds of stores. PepsiCo has started laying off workers and has committed to millions of dollars in severance pay. We've just witnessed the largest decline in the Philly Fed Business Index in more than 7 years. January, the sales of existing homes fell by 8.9%. This was the third month in a row that we've seen a decline of at least 8%. U.S. housing starts were down 11.2%. In December, home sales in Sacramento County fell a whopping 22.5%. More than $166 billion in student loan debt is now seriously delinquent. More than 7 million Americans are behind in their auto loan payments. This is also a new all-time record, and it is far higher than anything we've witnessed during the last recession. So when you look at all of that, you can see the central bank economy is deteriorating very, very rapidly. And we know this has nothing to do with Trump. This is why we've been tracking all this. So the mainstream media and all these financial pundits can't come out and say, hey, you know what just happened? Trump just came into office and the economy's falling apart. No, the economy was always falling apart. It's built on an illusion. The stock market is manipulated. GDP numbers are manipulated. Unemployment is manipulated. It's always been manipulated. Trump has taken the manipulation to the 100th degree to use the central bank and the deep state weapons against them. Now, we know that Q has been telling us that gold is going to be bringing down the Fed. Now, when we look at the central bank economy, it is hurting right now. And it's not just here in the United States. It's around Europe, throughout Asia. But I do believe China, Russia, and the United States, they're working on a plan to get rid of the Federal Reserve, to get rid of the Fed dollar. Now, very interestingly, the $100 bill was newly created. And going back when Obama was president, the $100 bill had one side where it said the Federal Reserve note. It was green. It had Franklin on it. It was signed by the Secretary of Treasury and the Treasury of the United States. So the left side was a Federal Reserve note. And there's even a stamp on it that says United States Federal Reserve System. Then there's a thick blue line, and I know this is a security feature of the $100 bill, but it divides the bill almost in half. Now, on the other side of the $100 bill, it says the United States of America. And if you notice, it doesn't say Federal Reserve note. Actually, the stamp there over the 100 is the United States Treasury. And if you notice, it says July 4th, 1776, and it has part of the Constitution. It even has a Liberty Bell and an inkwell that is in gold. This and a feather, which is a writing utensil back then. This side of the bill is all gold, and the left side is green, and it is a debt note. So these two are separate. And what many people do believe is that once we go back to the gold standard, you'll be able to take part of this and use it to get gold. Now, think about this for a second. This came out before Trump was in office. And we know that there's bad guys, good guys in the Federal Reserve. We know there's bad guys, good guys in government. And we know since Trump came into office, we see that the good guys are fighting against the bad guys. And during Obama's administration, there was a huge push to get rid of cash. And what's very interesting is that this bill came out during the time where there was this huge push to get rid of cash because they wanted us to go completely electronic under the central bank system. That was going to be the next system. So what we're seeing since that time period is that there's been a surge in countries and individuals and the circulation of $100 bills. Now let's just go back for 1 sec here. Lawrence Summers, former Treasury Secretary and Director of National Economic Council in the White House, has argued for abolishing the $100 bill. He even wrote an op-ed in the Washington Post in 2016 titled, "It's Time to Kill the $100 Bill." What we're seeing right now is that the amount of $100 bills in circulation is surging, and it's leaving some economists scratching their heads. The number of outstanding U.S. $100 bills has doubled since the financial crisis, with more than 12 billion of them across the world. Now, this is very interesting because we know from Q we know that gold is going to bring down the Fed. What better way than to prepare the nation and other countries than to put this type of bill out there? And if you're holding this type of bill, part of it is gold. Now, is it $100 worth of gold? Maybe, maybe not. We don't know. But we can see that this was designed specifically for a specific time in our country. Now, we know that Q has been giving us some hints about the Rothschild central bank system around the world. We know that gold is going to be used one way or another. Is it going to be physical? Is it going to be the end of the manipulation in the precious metals market? I think it's going to be a little bit of both, because once you see gold start to rise and it continually creeps up, yes, we're going to see it bob up and down, but even if it goes from $13.50 down to $12.80, then back up to $13.75, then back down to $13.25, then back up to $14.00, it's inching its way up. And what's very interesting about this is that that means the manipulation is coming to an end. Now, I don't believe they can do this very, very quickly. I think it's going to have to be a very slow process. If they just let gold do what it should do right now, it would implode the entire system in a split second. Because all of a sudden gold would rise 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, and people would just rush into gold, and then it would go up even higher. And this would be a complete and utter disaster. And I believe they have this plan, and it started way back when they first created this $100 bill. And I believe that this is going to be used later on. And we were all confused back then. Why would they create this when the central bank was looking to get rid of $100 bills, to get rid of cash completely? Actually, Europe was looking to get rid of cash completely. They wanted to go completely electronic, where the central bank can control everything. This way, if nobody had any cash, guess what? You couldn't take any cash out of the bank. But it looks like everything is being reversed. Everything that was created back then is going to be used to prepare us to enter the new economic system. And that is going to be a gold back or gold confidence building system. That's where this is all headed. And we know that the private West Central Bank, their system, and we're watching it implode on itself. It is imploding. And as soon as it gets so bad, and I believe that Trump is going to wait after the 2020 election, after he wins the election, and that's when he's going to start the push to get rid of the Federal Reserve, have it audited, and start to introduce the plan to transition us from the central bank economy into the new economy that they've been working on. And this transition, it's going to be a little bumpy. It's going to be a little difficult for many people, especially those people that are sleeping. They're going to be completely shook, surprised. They're not going to understand what is going on. And it will be explained to them. But once again, they had no clue that this was happening. They thought everything was fantastic. But I think what's going to happen is once Trump wins the election, this is when the economy starts to fall apart. This is when he turns around and says, listen, the Fed is raising rates again. The economy's falling apart. It is their fault. And we had the economy going perfectly well. It was strong. It was fantastic. And at this time, Trump and the Patriots, they have better control over the entire system, because already during this period of time, I believe we're going to see arrests already. I believe a lot of people will be on trial. The mainstream media, well, they're going to be floundering, trying to figure out how to survive, because many people are going to be looking at them as fake news. And he's going to be pointing the finger at the Fed because they're going to believe him at this time. Think about the optics of all of this happening. Think about what is going to be shown to the American people. People have been traitors. They've been treasonous. We have documentation. They're being arrested. They're being put on trial. There's never any type of Russian collusion. Everything that they started was fake. The mainstream media has been lying to the American people. Now we need to get rid of the Fed. Well, the Fed is raising rates. As they raise rates, they're destroying the economy. Do you think the American people are going to believe him at this time? Absolutely. It will be that much easier to explain why we need to get out of the central bank system. He, at that time, when he's in his second term, he's going to have the trust of the American people, because they're going to see all these people arrested. They're going to see all the traitors. They're going to see how the mainstream media was putting out propaganda, and they're going to present all these documents. This has been planned, and you can see how much easier it will be to bring down the central bank establishment once the American people trust in what he's doing. So get prepared, get ready. We're going to be going through some type of transition. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.